Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome along to All for United. It is the weekend review. Ben here once again, and let's try and get through today's show without any technical issues, without my daughter gate crashing the screen, and without us absolutely tearing Arsenal a new one. I can't promise the final one, but the first two will probably happen. Welcome to All for United. Welcome to the weekend review. Get in the live chat. If you're not watching on YouTube, come over to YouTube. Just search All for United and get involved in today's show as we talk about the biggest talking points from the Premier League's action just after this. Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United. And we are live. Welcome, guys. It has been a heck of a Monday for me. It's been a heck of a Monday for Mark. It's been a heck of a weekend for Callum. Callum, you've had the best weekend ever, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Ponting, shout out to that place. Could do we going to IKEA and building proper beds and having proper entertainment on, and I'm putting beer in glasses.
Should we scrap the Premier League weekend review and just do a Ponting's weekend review? Who did you have? Boney M, Sherloid, Dappy?
No, we had retake that. Which was quite. Do you know what? They were quite good. To be fair, it's probably the only good thing about the weekend.
They thought very carefully about their name, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, who looked more like Jason Orange, the guy in Retake That, or Mark?
Oh, Mark gives him a run for his money, to be fair.
He does, doesn't he? I was just thinking that. He's close. He's close.
Yeah.
And there's ever Mark's
weekend. But, you know, you make the most of what you can do, can't you?
Do you know what's great about this? It's the weekend review, and I bet Callum didn't watch a ball being kicked this weekend because he was at Ponting. So I cannot wait to get his thoughts on the weekend's action. It's either that or he made every excuse to get the phone out under the table whilst there was that crap cabaret going on in front of him. And he was just glued to the football.
I took my laptop with me and streamed a few games. So I've got a little bit. I mean, I managed to watch the United game, which was the main thing.
Of course, and that's where we're going to start, actually. And let's kick off with that, Callum. What did you make? Give us your thoughts overall. I mean, ultimately, we dominated the game, didn't we? They were hard to break down. We knew that was going to be the case. Then they got that frustrating goal. We always just concede that frustrating goal, don't we? And it's like we didn't need to. And then we made it difficult for ourselves and then won it easily in the end. What did you make of the game?
Do you know what? I kind of have a bit of a weird take on the game on Saturday because I don't actually think we played that well, which in hindsight is a good thing, if you let me explain. So I don't think we were that great, but the fact that we weren't great and dominated the ball and went and scored 4 goals says a lot about this team at the minute. I think, and like you say there about their goal, it was really frustrating to concede. I actually thought defensively it was quite poor. Maguire diving in the halfway line, Shaw being out of position. Even Varane got taken a dribble pass fairly easily. I don't know, they just sort of outnumbered us, and it was quite a frustrating goal to see. And as soon as that went in, I kind of thought, is it going to be that kind of afternoon? You know, where it's frustrating, we've dominated the game, but yet we've still not got that win. And the good thing was, obviously, I mean, it's the differences in it. The likes of Cristiano Ronaldo being in the team now, it shows someone clinical in front of goal can just make the difference. And then Bruno sealing it with that brilliant third goal as well. So I think against better opposition, we'd need to be better than the way we played. Look, I'm not a Newcastle United fan, but oh my God, I'd be furious at Newcastle's performance. I'm kind of starting to, I mean, I've knew about it for a long time, but I'm starting to genuinely get the problems of that club. And I've always liked Steve Bruce, but my God, his tactics on Saturday were so awful. They never came to pressure us on the ball. You know, they didn't try and get forward much. They were just really lethargic and boring. And I'm kind of starting to see and not feel sorry for, but understand the gripes that Newcastle fans have got at the minute. And I kind of think I would not be out. Like, you know, we say about the Glazers and how disgruntled we are with them and how awful they are. Mike Ashley and, to an extent, Steve Bruce has really... Newcastle have felt a lot, and I'd be surprised if they're in the Premier League next season.
We've spoken a lot about Newcastle on this show, Mark, over recent weeks. We had the amazing Kendall Rowan, a really passionate tune, come on the show and chat about Steve Bruce and the reasons why they want them out. Is there anything that you saw, Mark, against United that A, aids that argument, maybe even B, goes against that argument a little bit? What did you make of Newcastle?
Yeah, I don't think they were particularly poor. I just don't think. I think Callum's said a few things that are absolutely correct. I don't think they probably set up brilliantly. I don't think they closed Matic down nearly as quick as they should do. I think they give him too much time on the ball and give him too much time to dictate the play. And we get frustrated with Matic for that, not having enough time and not being able to sort of think quickly, as it were. So. I think they've got some good quality in there. I thought the goal was unfortunate. I think a lot of blame was put on Varane last night, but I think it was further up the field, and we were sort of our own worst enemies. Sorry,
it was quite a collective blame, I think, for that goal. It wasn't just Varane, but I think a lot of people were at fault for it.
Yeah,
the faults happened before it came to Varane. And I think ultimately it was a nightmare. Like I said last night, off the back of hearing what Stu said, I just feel like blaming Varane for that goal is ignoring everything else that went before it. I think ultimately, you're right, is a catalogue of errors. And I think the issue as well with a defender at that point, you're given so many different opportunities to make your mind up there and what you're going to do. Whichever way Varane went, you're going to be giving away a shot on goal. And I think who'd you rather shoot on goal? Manquillo. At a tight angle, and it was a tight angle. I think people were discrediting how good a finish that was, by the way. It was a really good finish across De Gea to find the corner. Similar to Greenwood's strike against Leeds in terms of the angle and how he hit it across the keeper. For a right back to do that is a great strike. I don't think we can place too much blame on Varane. He's also off balance, which again, it's not exactly his fault. He was having to backtrack with two attackers next to him and cover Maguire and Shaw. It's just one of those goals, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those frustrating that we conceded it, but go on,
100%. I think that's right. I think that they've got the players to do it. As I said, so Maximum is a good player. The goal scorer Manquillo is a good player. I'm not so sure about. I can't remember who it was now, but Luke Shaw sent him back to the MLS. It left him for dead, which was obviously good to see. But I don't mind Steve Bruce. I know obviously there are questions about tactically how he was yesterday. Always been sort of questions about him, really. But I think it really sort of, we have to kind of tarnish it with the same brush as how we feel about the Glazers. That the ownership is terrible, and I think that actually they do a reasonable job for what they're given, the amount of money they're given, and the players that they can bring in. And I kind of echo what you were saying earlier, Callum. It's an unfortunate situation. And I hope they can get themselves out of it, really.
Shout out to Vincent, by the way, who's in. Ugly Bear is in as well. And John Kermode, Ronaldo is back for good. I love that. Love that. Callum, if you weren't dancing on the table singing that to retake that, I'm going to be really disappointed in you, mate. I would expect better.
Do you know what? Part of me was thinking that a video was sent to you then, because we weren't allowed to dance on the tables, but there was some drunken dancing going on, I'll admit.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, hopefully I can get that video.
I do like a bit of take that. They're all right.
Have you seen this video from the weekend? Benny, one of the big talking points at Old Trafford, and we get onto the atmosphere next. Benny got TikToked.
I did. I saw it, yeah. I mean, when I met Benny at the protest a few months ago, and I've seen him a few times since. And I was obviously, when we do this, we're all sat down. So when I met him for the first time, I couldn't believe his tattoos are incredible. Really,
I didn't even know he had tattoos like this. I didn't even have a clue.
No, I didn't until I met him, and I was walking behind him, just going, bloody hell, they're bloody brilliant, and Benny, just complete. He's just covered in United, isn't he? He's proper diehard.
Yeah, check this out.
99 the treble, but have you got a Ronaldo tattoo?
I haven't, no.
Oh, time for one today?
I know. It's a work in progress because I've got loads of tattoo projects on the go. So
can I see some? Rio Ferdinand.
That Rio one is insane, by the way. It's insane. It's got to get a Ronnie one now. Let's start a GoFundMe. So the atmosphere at Old Trafford, anyone and everyone was at Old Trafford. Mark, I know Benny said that he felt like he's a bit louder at the Leeds game. I can understand that. But I think ultimately I've never seen so many fans in the stadium before kickoff. And I just think there's just a general fear around the place at the moment that transmits through TV. There's always been, through the telly, people have always questioned the atmosphere at Old Trafford. But at the moment, we're the loudest stadium of them all. It's bonkers, isn't it? How rejuvenated the atmosphere is. What do you put that down to, Mark? Is it just Ronaldo returning?
I think it's an amalgamation of things, actually. I think it's been a long time coming. Ollie has, to his things that we do get frustrated about, has created a very good atmosphere, has got those players, the people that he's brought in. Ronaldo is obviously going to have a massive effect on that. We're always getting excited now about a new season, for the past 2 at least for me. And I think that, with the players that have come in this summer, it's been a very, very good transfer window. We are seeing some good football. We didn't play well against Wolves, and we still grinded a result out. And I think Callum mentioned it earlier, we didn't play particularly well, and yet we were still emphatic, really. And I think that those are all things that we're kind of understanding, taking note of, and kind of running with that going forward. So, yeah, listen, I think Jamie made a very good point last night on Uncut that Ronaldo, what that's done is taken a huge limelight off of the other players. And I do think that that's a very good thing for someone like Sancho, especially. Obviously, he's not really come in and been played 100% of the time, not necessarily hit the ground running, is doing his bit here and there. But I think that no one's on his back because we're getting the results. Ronaldo's taken that limelight, and it's going to allow him to just kind of be integrated and gel in slowly.
I think Sancho was quite good as well Saturday. I liked him. There was a level of intelligence about him, a bit of maturity for such a young lad, which I think was quite nice. Of course, we want to see, and I was watching back the clips of Martial's debut goal against Liverpool, because that was, 3 or 4 years ago, yesterday? Something like that anyway. We want to see players running at players. We want to see exciting wingers at the club, of course. But I quite like the fact that Sancho's being a bit calculated at the moment. He knows himself. He knows his body. He has never been firing from the offset in his career so far, from the start of the season. And I like the fact that he's been a bit more calculated. He's on a bigger stage. He knows there's a lot more to lose. And I think he's just warming his way in. And I really, really like that. Callum, away from the atmosphere, but of course, a big reason for the atmosphere was Ronaldo's return. What do you make of our now new number 9? Has he got plenty to give?
Yeah, I mean, I said on a show the other week, he'll play every game. I know Karthik tweeted something about possibly rotating a few players for the Champions League game this week, but Ronaldo won't want to do that. He'll want to start tomorrow because he'll want to play every game. This talk of the pundits at the minute, I have a big issue with so many pundits, especially TalkSport, but he is fit enough to play every game. He's not a 36-year-old man. He's a 25-year-old. So he will play every game, and he will be there for the likes of Greenwood and the likes of even Cavani to an extent. Do you know what I mean? So I am so happy and over the moon. There was a picture that I saw. It was like a comparison to The Simpsons, of a young Homer Simpson and then an old Homer Simpson, but as Ronaldo was here the first time and now the second time. And it really is quite it's quite amazing to watch. So I'm so chuffed that he's back. And it'll be so important to, especially Greenwood, for his development as a number 9 over the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm. I agree. His movement as well was just brilliant. I thought watching... Go on.
I was just going to say, it's like you say, his movement. He was the only guy that attacked that spilled shot for the first goal. Only predators know to attack that. He was the only person that saw that coming on that game, on that shot. Nobody else would have done that in that team. And it's the likes of that can show and help the likes of Greenwood get forward and try and sniff out that danger goal all the time.
Brown Knight says Matic was my man of the match. I mean, fair enough. I do think he had his best game in a long time. I don't know if he's man of the match, but he did play quite well. And I think everyone gave, again, like a 7 out of 10 performance at the very least. So I was quite happy. Again, Paul Pogba apparently being overshadowed. He was brilliant again, potential man of the match. I do think he was good. I still think we lose something from him, playing him further back. But yeah, it's interesting. There's loads of good performers out there, so no one played badly. Again, I thought everyone played quite well. Greenwood was quieter, but when it mattered, he'd done what he needed to do. I think it's interesting, Ronaldo. For me also, I really liked his movement. in front of the Newcastle back three. He was opening spaces up. He was doing brilliant to bring other players into the game. And yeah, I just thought he was great, Ronaldo. And like you said, I don't think he comes out of this team. He plays every game for me, every single game. He's fantastic. And again, our attacking options are amongst the best in world football. I think it's frightening if you're an opposition facing us. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride this season, an interesting ride for Newcastle fans as well, who now sit 19th in the league. The only team below them is Norwich. And Norwich lost to other relegation favourites, Arsenal, this weekend. A 1-0 win at the Emirates for Arsenal in front of their home fans. Arsenal are going to win the league again. Yeah. I wanted to chat to a Norwich fan because I don't think we've had a Norwich perspective yet. We've spoken to an Arsenal fan, we've spoken to a Newcastle fan. I think we should hear from a Norwich fan. So I caught up with Canary Cast and they've sent us over this video where they talk about the game against Arsenal and also their start to the season, which, let's face it, have been miserable. Check out this video.
Hi guys, Jacob here, speaking about Norwich City and their rather unfortunate start to the Premier League season. 4 games in, 4 defeats, 1 goal, quite a few conceded. Probably looking at it from a point of view where we're not too sure, not too many positives to look at the minute. But we've had very, very tricky games to start off with. The Arsenal game was a tight one and one which just got away from us. I think Arsenal did deserve the win. It was unfortunately the story of Norwich's season so far, where we've just given away possession too cheaply. But when you're looking at it, Leicester, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal away, they're 4 games where Norwich would probably be looking at it from the start of the season thinking you do well to get any points. Realistically, we should probably have 2, but looking at it, you look at it and say you can't just keep going on about should, could, would, have to go and get it done. Start of the season's been an interesting one where does Timu Pukki fit in our system anymore? Probably not into the way we need to play. Does passing out from the back work for Norwich as well in the Premier League as it has done in the Championship? Again, no, because we're not the strongest team. It's a big couple of weeks for Daniel Farke and Norwich coming out. Obviously, Watford on Saturday is the 6-pointer. It's absolutely huge. Norwich have to win it and get off points on the board now because it's just such a key game. If you lose that game, then I think there'll be a lot of rumblings in terms of what on earth's going to happen. You give yourself too much of a gap to claw back, I think, even at this very, very, very early stage. But hopefully we can get there. Just need to see those new players gel. No one's going to turn on Daniel Farke just yet because, like I say, we've got so many new players, such a new system, such a whole new way of working. It needs time to be given into it and really put into the philosophy and all those sort of things. So hopefully we get there. Thank you for asking me on for this quick clip. Hopefully we'll go and beat Watford. Arsenal was disappointing, but yeah, we'll get there hopefully. And when I speak to you guys again, hopefully we'll have beaten Watford and everything will be feeling a lot more positive. If you want to hear more from us, see more of us, you can go on to Canarycast on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, you'll find us. Spotify, all those sort of things as well. We're there, talk about Norwich all of the time and about in a bit more of a longer detail as well. And looking forward to Watford. Hopefully we get those points. But yeah, tough start to the season. There's small shoots of hopefulness there. We just need to go and put it all into one performance. Hopefully that'll be against Watford. Speak to you soon.
There we go, the Canary Cast. Not a great start to the season there, Callum. Are we seeing here a typical team that have come up, right, and they've gone out into the market. They've brought in quite a few players who are more or less unknown when it comes to playing in our league. They've obviously got Brandon Williams on loan as well. And they're just trying to pinch and test things too much at the start of a season. This is going to all catch up with them at some point, isn't it?
I don't even think it's that. I kind of just think it's typical Norwich, to be completely honest. They remind me of just the typical stereotype yo-yo club. They do well in the Championship, they come up, they do crap in the Premier League, they go down. They do well in the Championship, they come up, they do crap in the Premier League, they go down. So every couple of years, it's just a bit of a cycle that they like to go through. I think for the likes of Billy Gilmore and Brandon Williams that have gone there, it'll do them a world of good for the experience in terms of getting regular minutes in the Premier League. But I don't expect anything.
But win it. Because I remember when Zaha went from United to Cardiff on loan, and you just knew that Cardiff were going to end up going down. You just knew it. And he wasn't the same player for a good seasons after that. Is it a good move for youngsters, even if they get the minutes, to go and play for a club which is clearly going to get relegated this season and experience that? So,
well, yeah, I think it does because, there's ups and downs in footballs, and obviously getting relegated as a Premier League player is one of the worst things that you could probably feel. So for the likes of Brandon Williams and Billy Gilmour, these players are very good I mean, Gilmour's definitely good enough to play for Chelsea. I think Williams could be to play for United. I think he does need that competition he needs to adapt to, especially at United. But I think in terms of minutes at a possible relegated team, it'll kind of push you on to not want to have to experience that again, I think. So I don't think that's a negative at all. I think Zaha was a bit of an anomaly in terms of that. He's come back, he went back to Crystal Palace and to an extent revitalised his career. I have opinions on Zaha. I think he's a very overrated player. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the Premier League. Every time I seem to hear about him, the next thing he's done is he's had a big argument on the pitch because the referees haven't protected him enough. It just seems to always be an excuse for him. So I think the Zaha Cardiff thing was a bit, it's a bit of an unlikely scenario that wouldn't happen too often. I'm really excited for Brandon Williams. I have seen him play some good stuff for Norwich. When he first came through at United, he was a very tenacious defender that did quite well for us. So I am excited to see what he could do for us. And Billy Gilmour's a great player for Chelsea as well, so it'll give them the experience they need. Obviously, Chelsea have always been fairly famous for loaning players out, bringing them back, whether it sells them on for a great fee or they become part of their first team. So, Norwich just, as a club, they just do my head in a bit, to be honest. They're a bit like, what's the point in them? I'd much rather see like Nottingham Forest or Blackburn or, like one of those. When I was growing up, those were the teams that were always in the Premier League. I don't want to be seeing Norwich come up every 2 years. It drives me mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I just think it's really difficult. Yeah, of course, you can be a standout player technically for a relegated side, but I just think do you really want that? If you're a young player, you could have potentially gone and got minutes in the Championship with a top club, get them promoted. I just think when you have a look at your accomplishments going back, you've still got to count what you've done on loan in the long term. And I just think having that blemish on your record, I don't know why any professional would want that. I understand what you're saying, though. Minutes are obviously important.
Not a case of want it, though, is it? I think it's more just a case of, you're playing in the Premier League against better players, so you're testing yourself more. It's easy to go down to the Championship at one of the top clubs and then bring them up, but you're not playing against better quality opposition. So I think
you're playing for a team that doesn't have a cat in hell chance of accomplishing anything this year, and I just don't see why any young player would. I can understand wanting the minutes. I sort of get it and I understand it from that point of view. So I'm not dissing it. I'm just thinking in my own head. I don't know why you'd want to go somewhere willingly. I suppose if maybe you've got other offers. It depends if you've got other offers on the table or not. Of course,
yeah. I mean, that's
potentially you've got other offers on the table.
That's more speculative, isn't it? But
yeah, of course,
you're testing yourself against better players, and yeah, I get you. The accomplishment thing, but 95% of players in professional football don't actually accomplish anything really.
Yeah, true.
It's true. In terms of you play for United, City, Liverpool, those kind of teams. They're the players that accomplish stuff. So I think playing for a very possible relegated team in the Premier League is better in terms of testing yourself every week than going to a Championship team. I was kind of hoping James Garner would have been picked up by maybe a Norwich or someone like that this season because he's definitely good enough. But I think maybe the options just weren't there. Maybe the teams weren't in for him. Why, I don't know. But I think going to someone like a Norwich would be definitely better than going to someone like a Birmingham, for example.
I totally agree with that, actually. I think it gives you a false sense of security. I think being in the Championship with the potential of being with a club that can win it. I think Callum's absolutely right. I think it's better to sort of test yourself against bigger opponents, give yourself that test from a mentality perspective to be able to deal with those downtimes and be able to pick yourself back up. And I think for someone like Brandon, it's all about getting those minutes. And I think you're absolutely right as well with regards to Zaha. I think it's a mentality thing. I don't think he's always been very good mentally, whereas I think Brandon would be far better with that. So look,
I do struggle with this argument though, because the way I struggle with it is, right, so let's fast forward to the summer, right? You've got Taof Chong, he's picking up man of the match awards left, right and centre, setting the championship on light. Last season we had James Garner doing the same, comes back into the squad full of confidence, like wanting to show their worth. Obviously they played at a lower level though, right? So I understand that argument, but then maybe you have like a Brandon Williams come back in after an okay season with a very poor Norwich team that got relegated.
Yeah, but
who's going to be chomping at the bit there? Like, I think you've got a confidence is such a big thing in football. I don't know how you can be confident after getting relegated with a team, no matter what your individual performance is.
James Maddison was when Norwich got relegated and got a move to Leicester. You know, Shaqiri.
Yeah, but then you're changing clubs, though, aren't you? That's completely different if you're getting a transfer elsewhere. I mean, because then you've got to go and prove yourself at a new club. But just going back to like your loan club after achieving not really much in a season, whereas James Garner can get them promoted this year, by the way. Like, he can get Nottingham Forest promoted this year. Yeah, surely that's as good.
Yeah, but the point is, I mean, it's all about development for him as well. It's not to say, Chong might do amazing at Birmingham, but I don't think I've ever seen him play well in a United shirt. And the thing is,
I think first and foremost, players are picked up on their attributes, and all clubs will know the pros and cons of Brandon Williams, and clubs will be interested in him regardless. And I think that it's about mentality. This is make or break for these types of players. This happens all the time. Loans happen all the time. Teams are relegated and promoted all the time. It's about how you deal with that mentally. And I do believe that he's quite astute when it comes to knowing what he wants and where he's going to go and really trying for that team, including Manchester United. So it will be an interesting one. I get your point. I don't disagree with you, but I think it's purely down to the player, and I don't think it affects where he goes after. I think clubs will be very much aware of what he brings to a team regardless.
Yeah, I
don't disagree.
Yeah, I think Mark's traded my point a little bit better there, to be honest. The point is mentally, regardless of whether you're changing clubs or whatever, you will stand out in that team. You will stand out in a team that didn't do very well because of your personal and mental attributes and how you help that team along the way through the season. And look, the other thing we've got to remember is we're talking 4 games into the season. Norwich might not get relegated. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they've had a very tough role.
But they might not do. And if they do go down, Brandon Williams will go, well, everyone could see how good I was. It's not my fault the other players weren't at the right quality.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting. I was more hitting on it from like a personal point of view. Like, if you want to accomplish something, what do? Do you go and play for a team in the Premier League and get your minutes there that potentially you could get relegated? Or do you go and play for a championship club, get your minutes anyway in your legs, which you haven't done before, no matter the level, and potentially get promoted with a team? That was more my thinking from that point of view. But I do get it. I get what you're saying. There's levels to this, and we're seeing now with Norwich. There's levels to this. There's levels to the leagues, which is why the Premier League is one of the most competitive leagues in the world, because you have to up your levels when you get there, and 9 times out of 10, most teams do. But we'll have to wait and see. Mark, I just want to hit on quickly stats-wise, just moving on. We spoke last week about how, unlike the Premier League, the stats were in that game between Arsenal and City, or a couple of weeks back before the international break. I was just looking through some of the statistics from the Arsenal-Norwich game. Arsenal had 30 shots on goal, 7 only of them on target. They only had 52% possession, 30 more passes than Norwich in themselves. They might have had more shots, but the game was quite equal in terms of possession and both teams having the ball. I just don't know. What are you making? Is this win going to rejuvenate Arsenal? They've got an important few weeks coming up with games and teams lower opposition. Do you think this will kickstart a run for them? Or do you think they could end up struggling after this? Was this always a given 3 points today?
I don't know what you're talking about. I think to be able to bring a team from 20th to 16th requires a tactical genius. No, I mean, the score was pretty even too, right? It was 1 goal in it. And I think that we touched upon it. Norwich have been a bit unlucky, really, with who they've had to play. And I don't think it really sets anything up. We're very early in the season, It's very easy for us to sort of sit here and dissect things for what they were at the weekend, but I think Arsenal probably will start picking up points. It's something that they needed. They need to be able to make sure that they can pick up the points against these types of teams, because that will really detriment their confidence. And as you say, it was a very even game, and I think there were, it's a very even result, really. I know they come out with the 3 points, but it was marginal, and really on paper you expect that, don't you, from Arsenal? So it could be a turning point for them. I don't know what their fixture list is like going forward, but they need to pick up these wins.
Yeah. What are the Arsenal? Sorry, I should have had them here really, but their fixtures coming up are really interesting. I think they've got
Burnley next.
Burnley away, don't they, next Saturday? Then they've got Tottenham at home, and then they've got Brighton away, then they've got Palace at home and Villa at home, all the way up to then Leicester City away. There's some really interesting games in there. It's going to be hard for Arsenal. They've got to really turn this form around now and get going. And Arteta said he was emotional after the win at the weekend, because apparently it's the best 2 weeks he's ever had in management with the training and what went on. And he was emotional. He's beating Norwich 1-0. Come on, it's unreal. Brown Knight, go on.
I just wanted to say they did beat Norwich 1-0, and I get a win's a win, but I saw their goal. It was so scrappy and kind of lucky. I actually missed their game. I only spotted the scoreline later on in the day. And I couldn't believe it was only 1-0. And then when I saw the goal, I was even more shocked. I really don't understand what's going on at Arsenal at the moment. They've spent more than anybody else this summer as well. And I look at the players he signed. I don't think I've heard of most of them. I really don't see a way out for them at the minute. I think but I don't think they'll beat Burnley next week. Burnley are a horrible team to play, especially at Turf Moor. So I'd be really, really worried if I was an Arsenal fan at the moment.
Spot on. Brown, I just want to hit on this. Has got nothing to really do with the first 4 games. Obviously, I've taken that into account, but I just think you've got I don't judge too much off of paper, but you do have to have a look at a team on paper and then compare them to the rest of the players in the league and the rest of the teams in the league. I just don't think Norwich have enough, mate, personally. That's just my opinion. Just don't think they've got enough to stay up this season. But I hope I'm wrong, because I'd love a fairy tale story for Norwich fans. They are a bit of a smaller club when it comes to the league. And what a fairy tale if they do stay up, to then be able to build upon what they've laid down this season. So we will wait and see, of course. Never count anyone out in football. Another 1-0 win for Brighton against Brentford at the weekend. We won't go into that too much. 0-0 draw, Southampton, West Ham. Quickly on that, Callum. Interestingly, I actually thought West Ham would win at the weekend. I was shocked that they got a 0-0 there. I think that's a great point for Southampton as they start to build momentum this season. But Antonio sent off late in the game. We've got them at the weekend. How nice is that?
Well, I was thinking from a personal level that was quite annoyed, because he's my striker alongside Lukaku and Ronaldo in fantasy league.
I think it's a curse for everybody this weekend.
Yeah, well, in our little league that we have, I'm actually first at the moment. So, but I was very annoyed at that. But in terms of how it helps us, that's brilliant news. Antonio's been their talisman this season, and he scored some really important goals for them. I'm same as you, Ben. I thought he'd have probably won. In years gone by, it'd have probably been a bit uneven with who would win that game. But in the past 12 to 18 months, David Moyes has done absolute wonders at West Ham. There was obviously talk of Lingard going back, but it looks like they started the season just as good without him. So no Antonio next weekend could be huge for us. It'll be a tough game though, because obviously David Moyes, and he can set up quite pragmatic and quite boring when he needs to. So it'll be a really interesting game, I think. But no Antonio makes it quite interesting.
Yes, it does. I'll tell you what. Let's go from one red card to another, shall we? And we've got to discuss this. Leeds 0, Liverpool 3. Struijk sent off for his challenge on Harvey Elliott. May I just say, by the way, I know it's a rival club, but it did look like a nasty injury to Harvey Elliott. He's a young lad, and I hope he comes through this and recovers well and gets back on the pitch, as it must be a very scary moment and obviously painful moment for him. But 3-0, the red card incident, Mark, was it a red?
Yeah, I had this discussion yesterday, and I am not overly sure it was, to be honest. I think it was just a bit clumsy, tangle of legs, and unfortunately I think it was more down to the fact that the injury that came off the back of it, really. And that's not me being biased towards Liverpool or anything. It's Leeds United, so I don't want either of them to win. If it could be a possibility of both teams to lose again, that would be perfect, wouldn't it? But No, I don't think it was a red card. Honestly, I don't think it was. I think it was just purely on the fact that it was such a horrific injury. With regards to Liverpool, I mean, they look pretty strong at the minute. I think that Van Dijk coming back and playing relatively well is a real bonus for them, and they've flourished from that, and they look a little bit dangerous at the minute.
It's interesting because by definition, I know someone tweeted the other day to someone who plays semi-professional football on my timeline. I can't believe people aren't calling it a red card. He did, if you watch the player, had both feet off the. No, it wasn't Stuart. Had both feet off the floor. He wasn't in control of the tackle. He came in from behind. He extended the left leg after winning the ball. Struijk knows what he was doing, and any other former professional would tell you the same. But just watching that, I've seen worse fouls. That's what I can't get over. I've seen worse fouls than that not get red cards. Callum, what did you make of it? Was it a red? You disagree with Mark?
I can't make my mind up because by definition, you are right. You know, he did endanger his opponent. He put him in danger. It was a weird one because I kind of don't even think it was a foul. He kind of completely got the ball, and it was just a bit of a freak accident that it followed through. Like, I don't even think he blew for a free kick until Salah's reaction when he ran over to him, because they had to stop play. Mark kind of put it perfect, to be honest. You can't be biased because it's Liverpool, because the other team was Leeds. So I don't think it was a red in terms of a tackle, because like you said, I've seen worse. I've seen much, much worse. And I do think it was just a really horrible accident.
That's a really good point, actually. I don't think the referee was going to do anything about it until Salah was waving his arms like he did. And I think that says a lot about it.
Do we think then that the red card was given for the injury more than the challenge?
Yeah, it wasn't a red card challenge. It was a red card injury. That was the problem. It had endangered him leading to the red card. But I don't think. I think he got the ball completely. It wasn't even one of them 2-footer ones where he got the ball but then followed through or whatever. I do think it was just a freak accident that can happen in football. If he didn't break his leg, I don't think that would have even been stopped. I think the game would have carried on.
Agreed.
It's so interesting because surely we can't be giving red cards for injuries. Surely it has to come for the challenge.
I agree, but I don't think that's always been a thing. I think that's always been a thing when there's been sort of like an injury like that. That's always kind of tended to lead to something a bit more serious, losing a player as well. You know, we can try and split these arguments all the time, and you know, you can't really go through it with a fine-tooth comb forever. Do you know what I mean? And these things happen. Probably is always going to happen, and you're going to get some sending offs after those situations. And you can't look at it like that. You can't look at it, you know, just because he's injured the player horrifically, he should get sent off. That's probably always going to happen, you know. Otherwise, you're going to just continue arguing forever.
Well,
let me read out. Let me just quickly read out, Callum, what Chris Walton said. Or was it Chris Walton? No, it was Dermot Gallagher said on Sky Sports. He said the red card was actually an on-field decision, although the free kick wasn't initially given. VAR wasn't involved. The fourth official was close by and he would have fed in. And that's a great thing about the referees having earpieces right now. The referee will connect up. The input was all from, we feel this is a red card from the fourth official, and the red card was given. The challenge was right in front of the technical area. When you see that challenge from behind, the law says, does he endanger the safety of the opponent? Well, the outcome would certainly say yes. Did he mean to? Most certainly not. And that's the balance here and the dilemma that the referee had. So it was for endangering the opponent. And the fourth official gave it, not the on-field referee.
Well, that's
you can understand it though. It's like it's back to the definition of endangering the opponent, and obviously it really did hurt him. So I hope he recovers and things like that. Obviously, but I know it's going back a few years, but in terms of consistency, when Luke Shaw broke his leg, he didn't. The guy that he had to tangle with didn't get sent off. In fact, he stayed on and had a man of the match performance. Now, I get it was 6-7 years ago, but that still endangered an opponent, and the rule wasn't applied then. So it's...
Is it different rules for UEFA and different for FA? Are they ever so slightly different?
Well, no, I mean, it's still under the same FIFA governing body, so it should still be the same. So I can understand the endangering opponent, but if that's the case, then it needs to be applied consistently. And I get it was a good few years difference, but I could understand both reasonings of whether it was a red card or whether it wasn't a red card.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, but we'll leave that debate there. If you want to get involved, guys, please do get involved in the live chat on that one. Mark, Wolves finally got 2 goals and a win at the weekend. They've been showing promise for ages. Actually had less shots on goal, but managed to actually score. It took them to the 70th minute and an own goal. Then their debutant, Hwang Hee-chun, scored a scrappy goal. How thankful will Wolves be to finally get that win on the board?
Hugely thankful. Yeah, I was talking to one of my buddies actually, who's a massive Wolves fan. You know, they've been unfortunate. They've played some very good football. In the first half, Watford were the much better team and probably unlucky not to be maybe 1 or 2 up. But I think that's exactly what Wolves needed. I think that they just needed to kind of get out of the blocks and get some points under the belts. You know, they play some very good football. Again, talking to my mate, the Wolves fan, he's very pleased with how they're playing. And said exactly that. Just needs to give it a bit of time. Hopefully, they can get 3 points against Watford, which they have, and kick on from there. But I think they look pretty good, to be honest, and they've just been lured into a full sense of insecurity, I think, so far this season.
Yeah, good points well made. And finally, Callum, I'm going to hit on 2 games in one here. Chelsea and City both getting wins. Chelsea, I tell you what, Villa looked an half poor, didn't they, at Stamford Bridge? I thought they looked really poor and they've not had a good start to the season at all. And then City also getting that important 1-0 win over Leicester. The 2 main title favourites here for you still. Where do United come into potentially getting in on a shout for winning the league?
I think as a United fan, I think we could probably call ourselves... I don't think we expect to win the league still, even with Ronaldo. I really can't see past Chelsea. I think Lukaku really will be the difference for them this year. But Villa are really surprising me. You know, I know they lost Grealish, but they've acted so diligently in the market this summer that their signings should have just been so perfectly integrated into that squad. And I don't know whether they're just struggling to adapt at the moment or something. But I thought Villa would have hit the ground running this season. They like 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. That was the kind of game I thought, oh, Villa could give them a game here. And Chelsea kind of just wiped the floor with them. And speaking on the other games, City and Leicester, I thought those kind of games can go either way. And I was really... I thought Leicester would have done better. I didn't expect City to win and kind of control it as they did. Leicester have been quite a strange team over the past couple of years. You know, they've kind of really bottled it when they needed not to the most, and they still seem to struggle every now and then against those bigger sides. You know, United seem to do okay against them. City don't tend to struggle too much, so it's a bit of a weird one. I think they'll probably push for top 4 again. Whether they'll get it, I don't personally think so. I think they'll probably be looking at the 5th and 6th again as a successful season. Well, it won't be successful if they don't get top 4, but I think that's probably their level, especially with the signings the top 4 have made. With Van Dijk coming back for Liverpool as well, I think the top 4 kind of writes itself this year. In the order of which I don't know, but you know, you can't be looking past City, United, Chelsea, and Liverpool. In terms of that 4th spot, I think it'll be between Liverpool and Tottenham, with Kane staying there as well. Obviously, that'll help a lot. But I'm surprised at a couple of teams this weekend.
It's going to be really interesting, I think, starting to see some of these teams play head-to-head, because we've only seen Chelsea and Liverpool so far, haven't we? We need to see the other top 4 teams play against each other. I was thinking the other day, we were talking about the atmosphere against Leeds and the atmosphere for Ronaldo's homecoming. Can you imagine that City derby? Can you imagine that at Old Trafford? What's going to be like Old Trafford against Liverpool? It's going to be mental.
They're coming thick and fast, aren't they now? Some of the games are running now over the next 10, 12 weeks. it's kind of showing what you're made of now. So it's time to hit the ground running. 10 points from 4 games is a great start. So.
And there's no longer any excuse for pre-season fitness either, right, Callum? Players should be hitting their fitness now, and they're going into these big games fitter, a lot fitter than they were over the past 2 or 3 games. So it's going to be really, really interesting. Finally, we've just mentioned there sort of the top 4. Callum hit on that fantastically and gave his assessment of Chelsea and also City and Leicester, Mark. But what about Spurs? 3-0 defeat at Palace. I didn't see that coming. So their 100% record for the start of the season's over, and they've only got 3 goals in 4 games. They struggled, didn't they? They really struggled, even with 11 men on the pitch.
I think they've been quite lucky, actually, so far this season. I don't think they've been particularly good. They've been very pragmatic, a very Nuno approach. And it was a bit of a shock, I must admit, against Palace. I think 3-0. But I think that they've probably been lucky with the first 3 games, and I think it's they've probably got a bit too complacent. Come up against a team they didn't expect it, and then have been outplayed. So I really want to see Spurs. Really, I know they got that result against City. Again, I don't think City were poor, and I think this was a moment for City that they just were poor. They always seem to be at the start of the season, right? I think that, in a few games' time, when Spurs sort of play some of the other big boys, that'll be a real test for them, and we'll see exactly where they're going to be put within that league.
Just showed that on screen from John. Upcoming games, I think also Arsenal are in there against, obviously we go to West Ham as well, which is going to be tasty. I think Arsenal against Spurs could be a little bit tasty as well. Obviously form goes out the window when you've got a really big rivalry like that. Interesting few weeks of football coming up, and loads of football to look forward to as well. We've got Champions League tomorrow. We've got Carabao Cup as well, midweek next week in between Premier League games. And in Champions League, again, it's just jam-packed. Cannot wait to see the boys play again. So much football to chat about. We'll be back Monday with the weekend review. Callum, thank you for jumping on this one, mate. Always a pleasure doing a show with you. Was this more fun than Pontins?
Yeah, it was.
There we go. That's all that matters. Please stick that review on Google. I love that. Always good to see you, pal. Always good to see you, Mark. Always good to see you as well. We're gonna head off from here and try and make the most of just a hectic Monday so far. Whatever you're doing, chill out at home. Make sure you share the video, stick a like on it as well. Get in the comments. Ronaldo is back. United stormed to a 4-1 win. That's 9 goals at Old Trafford from United in 2 games. Can we beat West Ham 9-0 on Saturday or Sunday? No. I bloody hope so, because that would be brilliant. Could you imagine David Moyes' face? I bloody love that. Anyway, come on, boys. Let's get the win tomorrow, first of all. And we'll speak to you once again on Monday. And we'll also speak to you tomorrow night, 5:30, a special show coming your way for Young Boys against Manchester United. Our return to Champions League action. Do not miss that. Ciao for now.